So I'm in the house. I'm back from the summer. Spent the summer in Camp Monk. For some of you who just joined Meaningful Minute, followed on Instagram. My name is Naki Gordon. I am Meaningful Minute founder, operator. Hey, Avi. And it's really, really a pleasure to have you on board with this new initiative. In the house of my executive producer, Nissan Gordon, in Lawrence and Shayna Gordon, the power couple for Meaningful Minute. And just talk about a small little thing tonight just to get things rolling back. We're about to get into Elul, Rosh Chodesh, and there's something I was able to observe throughout the summer. And if there are parents on here, it'd be quite amazing. But it's a very, very good point. There is, I don't know about most camps. I've only been in one camp my whole entire life, Camp Monk. I'm not sure if anybody on here is familiar with it or has any kids that go there or been there themselves. But Camp Monk is an extremely close camp, close knit, a lot of camaraderie. It's a type of camp that on the last day there are kids crying, staff crying, everyone's leaving, everyone's sad. There's a famous Vart from Ibelsky who asks, why do kids cry by Grand Sing? There are kids first year they're in camp and they're crying by Grand Sing. What's pshat? And the Vart he says is that the kids realize that they're going back into their cage. They're going back into their box the rest of the year. In camp in the summer is when they're able to express themselves. And I'd venture to say 2 months in camp, a staff member, anybody in the camp can go ahead and grow more in those 2 months than he can in the 10 months. Now, I was thinking about it today when I was driving back from upstate, and the following thought occurred to me. I was wondering, why is it that everyone can grow so much in these 2 months? And I realized something, and maybe some people won't want to hear this, but I think it's true, is that the reason that kids can grow so much in these 2 months and they can accomplish so much is because they fall. It's because they fail. When they're home, let's say, there's no room to fail, let's say, the parents don't let them fail. They don't let them fall. If something's not going their way, the parents intervene and they step in. The school's not treating them properly, they step in and, hey, yeah, this is not fair, not fair, not fair, can't do this. And the kid doesn't go through much adversity per se. Maybe things are paid for him, and things go smooth. In camp, you're in a bunk with 16 kids. There are fights. Things don't always go as smooth. The counselor doesn't always see everything, and things happen. And the biggest opportunity for a kid who's, let's say, even 10 years old, 11, 12, 13, 14, is when he has to make a decision. When he just got made fun of, or he just made fun of somebody, and then he feels bad, then he goes ahead and says sorry. Not someone forcing him to do something, not someone pushing him to do something, not someone doing it for him. The kid falling down and failing at whatever it is what gives him the room to grow and the ability to grow. It's like a famous mashal of a caterpillar that was trying to break out of a cocoon. And this man saw it. It was an extremely amazing sight. And he went over to it, and he was watching. After 10 minutes, the caterpillar stopped, and it couldn't do it anymore. And it was trying, it started again, and the guy saw it just couldn't do it. So this man, wanting to see it turn into a butterfly, what did he do? He took a pair of scissors and he cut the rest of the cocoon off, and out came the caterpillar, which now is turning into a butterfly. It opened one wing and opened the other wing, and one of the wings was shriveled. And it tried to fly, and it couldn't fly. Now, what this man thought he was doing by helping this caterpillar slash butterfly was actually hurting him. Why? Because little do we know that a caterpillar, in order to become a butterfly that flies, its wings, it needs to, in that process of becoming a butterfly, it needs to break out of that cocoon. And when it does, it creates muscles in its wings through that process. Kadosh Baruch Hu made it that a caterpillar has to go through an extraneous process of breaking through its cocoon to get those wings in order to fly. And if it doesn't go through that process, his wings aren't going to work. Now, if we do everything, if we go with a concept that, let's say, a rebbe or a mechanech or a teacher or a parent, if their mindset of helping somebody, of helping a kid, is by, I'm going to help him, I'm going to put him on my shoulders, I'm going to do everything for him, that's one way to make sure your kid never walks by himself. But how do you help somebody? By putting them on their feet. Not on your shoulders, putting them on your feet. You don't light their match, you give them the match. And you have to let them light it themselves. So during the summer, we just came back. I think pretty much all sleepaway camps just came back. Your kid just came home, and he had an amazing, amazing summer. Understand for a second, if you're a parent or a mechanech, I don't know who's watching, who's going to see this. But if you had a plexiglass and you were behind a glass window and you were watching your kid for the last 2 months, I promise you, you wouldn't recognize him. you wouldn't recognize him because he was doing things that you never ever thought you'd imagine he can do. He was in roles of leadership. He was in Camp Monk. He was part of a Camp Monk circus. He was part of cantata. He was getting up there and speaking and doing things that, oh, that's not my son. My son is shy. He doesn't do those things. But he's doing those things because he had freedom. He had freedom to do what? He had a freedom to fall. And it's the falling that made him get higher and higher and higher. There's a saying that goes, not really a saying, I don't know why I just said that, but there's a thing that goes that when someone does an Avera, or every single time they do an Avera, they're sinning, they're cutting a strand from the rope. And every time they do Teshuvah, they're tying it back. So they're cutting the rope and they're tying it back, right? So what happens to that rope? You have knots, you have knots, you have knots. What ends up happening to that rope is it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. What happens when it gets shorter and shorter and shorter? It gets closer to its source. When somebody falls and they get back up, they get a lot stronger than they did before. I'm not going to say who. The most amazing thing happened this summer. There was a boy in camp who, during a certain part of camp where there was a choir, he got up there for a solo and he forgot the words to the song. Opened his mouth, he said the first two words, and he forgot everything. And it was really, really rough. And everybody in the room, the air was sucked out. Everyone felt terrible. And I honestly didn't know what was going to happen with this kid. I honestly felt really, really bad. And we flashed forward 3 weeks to the Camp Monk circus. And I couldn't believe my eyes. This kid was back in the choir. Not only was he back in the choir, he had a solo. And he gets the mic, and he belts out a solo. And he nailed every single word. Now what just happened? This kid had the most traumatizing experience of his life probably to date. Getting in front of a stage in front of the whole entire camp and forgetting the words to a solo, and the place is just looking at him. In fact, there were parents there, and his own parents were there, and he fell flat on his face. But he didn't just stay down. I'll tell you a fact: that boy has a lot more confidence now than he did before he forgot the words to the solo. Meaning, if he didn't ever fall, if he didn't forget the words to the solo, he would still be here. But since he forgot the words, and he messed up, and he got down, and he's thinking, this is the worst thing ever happened to me, and then comes circus, and he has another solo. Now he can get back here where he was before. He got over here. He got over here. When we fall, we have an opportunity to get higher than we were before. And we'll end with the following words. Sometimes we feel Hashem is burying us. We're getting buried by our problems. But little do we know, He's actually planting us. Have a great night. Kol Tov.